Okay, big excitement. We're going to design your first business model, version 1.0. So now you've been part of designing your value proposition. You have your customer profile, you have their jobs, their pains, their gains, you have your features, you have your products, you have everything you need in the sense of the value proposition itself. It's time to think about the other stuff that surrounds and wraps the value proposition. Ready? But before we start, there are some house rules. So if we want to get to a business model canvas that's clear and sharp as much as we can, we need to follow on some rules that I'm going to demonstrate to you using a real canvas. So before you start designing your first business model, I wanted to give you some tips for a good design, for some very clear design rules of the business model canvas, because the business model canvas is not a visual business plan. It's totally different from that, okay? So if you're using the Slicky notes like I do, you could start with writing down the name of your model, okay? Name of your model, all right? And just put a headline, whatever, something creative that would remind you of the model, which would be fine, no problem at all. So rule number one, working with a canvas, so you're going to be writing customers and then value propositions and then channels and maybe more value propositions and then, hey, how about this revenue model and what about adding some more and how about free and how about this and how about this? And all of a sudden we have a business plan, right? And it's no longer a canvas. So it's really hard to find with all of that mumbo jumbo here and that jungle of facts and evidence and who knows what you put here. It's going to be hard. So please don't overload, all right? Just take that away and make sure that you don't overload the canvas because it's a clear, crystal clear kind of a tool, okay? That you want to get insights from. Now, the next thing that's important is that, all right, let's say we have a customer segment, okay? And let's say we have a customer segment that's, say, kids, okay? Writing down kids. And then basically we have value that says, I don't know, free rides, all right? Free rides. Let's say we're talking about a business model that offers them free rides in a carousel, in a amusement park, okay? And then we have parents. Oh, but wait a minute. I'll write kids, right? And then parents, all right? And then free rides, and then happy kids, but you can't do that. That's the wrong way to go. You cannot put more than one idea, whether it's a customer segment, channel, value proposition, or anything else. There's no bullet pointing using the canvas. Why do we do that? Because if we put the kids and the parents together and then we want to change the business model, say, you know what, let's put the parents away and see if somebody else would pay for those kids, then both of your customer segments are gone. And the most important thing about Slicky Notes and the canvas as well is that the combination allows you to start playing around with these notes and getting those ideas to move and evolve as you design, okay? So we don't do that. Let's get back to kids and parents. And I think rule number 3 comes into play here. So kids and then parents. And what you're seeing here is that I'm using a different color. So color coding is really important when we're working with a business model canvas. The reason is we put value proposition A, all right, say free rides, all right? And then basically value proposition B, happy kids, okay? And they got different value propositions. And the reason we're segmenting between those is because if both of them have the same value proposition, then the answer is you have only one customer. So if you have more than one customer segment, you really want to differentiate between them. Now, the answer is there could be another value proposition, all right, like happy time, for instance, at the amusement park,
that could be a mutual or joint or shared. And the way we do this is we just put one of those slicky notes, one of those colors on top of the other, and so you know that it's a shared or a mutual kind of a value proposition. Same applies for channels and other stuff, okay? So color coding is very important because once you step back and you look at the entire canvas, you'd be able to tell that there are, for instance, different channels that we're going to be using. Maybe we're going to trap them differently. Maybe the revenue model is different. So free for the kids, right? But then parents would pay, I don't know, per visit or something like that, okay? So dollars per visit, okay? So with this, we understand that there are value chains running in the canvas. And this brings me to another tip or another rule of working with a canvas. If you treat it as a checklist, like, okay, channel, value proposition, customer, and so forth, you're missing out on something really important, and that's the story of how this thing works together, the dynamics of how the value proposition becomes a trap or maybe a lock, and how the revenue model is tied to it. So working with this as a story will allow you to do some neat stuff. So for instance, if I put here the parents, all right, and the kids, how about I take those kids and I move them over here to key partners. So by doing this, how would kids allow me to get parents, right, trapped in the model? Maybe we'll do something together. Maybe we'll create something, we'll draw something, maybe we'll take a picture, maybe we'll design it together and so forth. So a customer becoming, even a non-paying customer, becoming a key partner allows you to lock another customer or themselves in this case, all right? So it allows you to see different options and prototype with business model designs. And the last thing that I wanted to say was they have to be tied together. So a value proposition has to have a corresponding revenue stream. So a revenue model, in this case, free, okay? And same story, you want happy kids, you pay per visit, right? And so forth. So every one of those blocks should be tied to another because they're telling a story. And as your story grows to be more tied in, the better design of your business model is, okay? And we saw that with Southwest, we saw that with Tesla and other examples that we reviewed, okay? So, there's one last thing I wanted to tell you. Don't blah, blah, blah. Which means that if you're starting to talk about things rather than writing them down, you're not taking any risk. You're creating the Tower of Babel we saw earlier. Don't blah, 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 meaning don't take more than a minute to write down an idea. So if I thought free rides are no good, okay, no problem. The only risk I'm taking here is that note is gone. And then I'm replacing it with, you know what? We're gonna sell subscription to kids. I don't know where they'll get their money from, but whatever. So it means that once you write those notes, you're not gonna blah, blah. People are gonna respond and you're going to design faster and sharper. The more time you spend on looking at the canvas empty and talking about your ideas is the normal way of blah, blah, blahing in a meeting room. Good luck and get that design nailed.